Can Shez defeat things, and can Medeus still contribute? We have a lot of role players this round, and I think these refines are better than they're getting credit for. We'll talk about why I think that, but first we need to get into legendary Shez.
I'll put you in your place.
So let's understand something real quickly, and the purpose of these videos isn't to really tell you which of these refines is better or worse, but to look at you guys' favorite units and show you where they are usable. Shez is very interesting because we don't have a lot of units that can put out quite as much damage as she can. The Shez line has always been that way, and it makes this unit kind of fascinating, but one-dimensional, which is kind of the definition of a role player. When you talk about Aether Raids, with the right support, she can definitely smack things around. In arena duels, I think this is where she's truly going to shine and where this refine does the best. If you need to counter BK, I think this is your unit, and if you have her merged up, I think you're going to be happy. I also do believe there is a place for her in SDS, and she can put out enough damage to do some harm there. So understand what's coming, but let's talk about the refine itself. So this is kind of an interesting mix of support and combat. So we have Slang, Brave, which is very important, Omni +5, flat DR of 7, penalty neutralization, which is nice, special acceleration on a speed check, and start of phase plus after acting inflicts on closest foes +2, inflicts exposure, speed shackle, and defense shackle. Okay, so if you're loading up debuffs on the enemy, this can be incredibly handy. If you're in Aether Raids, obviously the mid-turn is what really helps you out. In the other phases, though, this is something that can... the start of turn, especially with exposure, can be very, very handy in things like Arena. Then we have at start of combat, if unit initiates or within 2 of an ally, you get an Omni +11, so that's additional stats, and true damage of 25, which is kind of the norm. That's where you want to hit. So this is okay. This is solid. It has a lot of the things you need. We really need to get into Swift Slice 2, though, and this is at start of player phase or enemy phase to self and allies within 2, you get Dodge and Omni Lull. We talked about this a little bit on the video yesterday, but the reason Dodge is here and it's become so popular is because it does provide some resistance to AoE damage. Now, I don't think you're going to be using this as a hit and sit unit, but past that we have start of combat, you get Omni +9, flat DR of 7, neutralizes guard, and then piercing of 50%. And then we get the effective damage, and if you are not a melee infantry, so sword, axe, lance, then this unit has to beat your speed by 5. If you are one of those, then you have to beat that speed by 20, and then you get effective damage on units. Again, this is really trying to be an armor breaker, is what the core of this unit does. Let's look at some builds, though, and I want to talk about where this unit sits. Now, we just had a Shez alt, and that alt is going to be superior to this. There's no way around that, but it's closer than you think. The problem is when you are upgrading an older unit like that, it's very expensive. Where I do believe that is worth it is when you're talking about this being an arena core unit. If this is your arena core unit, I think it is absolutely worth it to max invest. For this, I have Comet. When you are talking about boosted damage like effective damage, and then Comet, which takes that and multiplies it times 200, you can very clearly get some runaway there, which is very nice. Then we have pair up for an active lookout. I wrestled with this for a while. The issue is you really, really need to proc Comet. But you do have null guard, and if you get desperation off properly, then you can hit 4 times. So in all likelihood, you will get Comet. Understand that if you are having trouble with that, you can switch the attack defense finish to the times pulse seal and better things will happen for you. The reason I have the defense seal is because at this max investment, we'll talk about effective defense here in just a second, you can out defense BK. That is huge and can really come in handy. So that's the way you're going to get those 4 hits off, and that is the way you're going to be able to beat BK, especially with that Comet. The budget build. Now, if you remember, I generally pick one premium thing and then we move from there. And in this case, I picked lethality, which isn't exactly premium. And then I kept Seal Speed Defense, which comes on her kit, and gave her Times Pulse 4. Times Pulse 3 will work almost as well. It just won't work as well if you're trying to hit multiple targets, like you're trying to go a hit and then go again. It's not going to give you the additional cooldown there afterwards that helps you get that lethality procced. There is likely an argument here that I should have gone with Astra as opposed to lethality. This unit already has piercing, so that is a thing that already exists, and Astra does really boost up that damage. To really understand that, though, we'd have to test a little more. I prefer lethality, but if you told me you were using Astra and it did just fine, or if you didn't have lethality and we're trying to build this budget build, Astra is the way to go. Let's zoom in on this max invest build, though, and I want to talk about the DPS. So, here we are.
But I'm begging.
Flat DR of 31 is actually higher than you think, but it's not going to let this unit survive Erica Ring style bar saves. In general, they're still going to be able to take her out. A true damage of 55 is high, but we've talked about this before. Right now, for a nuke, you have to have both high true damage and high boosted damage. And because of all the things going on, it is very, very difficult to calculate exactly what the boosted damage is going to be. But with all the different things going on, and if you proc Comet, likely that is going to be very high. So the combination of those two makes this unit an excellent nuke. The other thing I want you to pay attention to is, as opposed to a lot of other units that we've looked at, this unit does get some decent defense and res as far as effective stats. An effective 82 defense is not something to, shake your head at. That is very decent, and that's why I do believe that you'll be able to out-defense BK, especially with penalty negation. So keep on the lookout, and if this is your core, I think this is something you can do. As far as my suggestion, I really think this is the way you're going to want to go. And if you want to invest in this unit, it's because you have them merged up. And that's where this Swift Slice 2 Pair Up 4 and Active Lookout really come in handy. I didn't talk about Pair Up, I meant to. Pair Up is incredible in both phases, but understand there is a leash on it, and you do need to be within 3 spaces of one of your allies to really get that going. And that is why we have the Sigurd ring as opposed to the Erica ring, to make sure she doesn't get too far out there.
Suffer and die.
Next up is Medeus, and this isn't going to read well, but I want to go into where you use this unit. You might change your mind a bit. So, in Arena, this is not a good fit. In Legendary Hero Battles, which is about the lowest you can go in the events category, this is not really a great unit. But there is a very specific use case that I've seen with Medeus lately that is kind of fascinating, and that is when you get into reinforcements and how this unit plays against the Bolt Tower. For a lot of the player phase folks, they still like to use the Bolt Tower to take your team down and then be able to take them out. If this unit is a reinforcement, he will stop the Bolt Tower. I have tested this. It is kind of incredible to watch someone who is going up against your defense and just get stymied when they expect the Bolt Tower to go off and Medeus saves them. We'll talk about the builds in just a second, but essentially you're going to put the Corin Ring on him as well, and shenanigans ensue. So, talking about the Refine, Shadow Breath, you get attack +3, distant adaptive damage, and start of player or enemy phase to self and allies within 2. You get attack res +6, on guard, fringe bonus, and bulwark. So, just to review, on guard keeps the damage from happening to you like the Bolt Tower. Fringe bonus is essentially bonus doubler 4 style, where it takes the buffs from teammates around you, so it's anti-lull. And then bulwark, of course, limits movement, which is incredibly powerful versus units that have range of any kind, the range style. Any of those, it is hard to remember that they get bulwarked like ranged units. And I'm saying this because I've forgotten it several times. So, past that, start of combat. Inflicts attack defense res -6 on foe. Foe cannot make follow-up attack. Neutralizes foe's bonuses, and true damage equals 25. I don't know that you care about that. I really don't think you're going to be using this unit as an attack unit of any kind, honestly. Let's look at Assured Rebirth Plus, and this is the remix. So it inflicts attack defense res -7, frozen, and sabotage on closest foes and those within 2 spaces. Now, this can get cleansed, but when you're talking about defense, that happens a lot less. As far as combat, inflicts attack defense res -5 on foe, guard, guaranteed follow-up, true damage equals 20%, flat DR equals 20%, preempt pulse equals cooldown -2, which is very nice. Past that, we get a lot of damage reduction. Understand that's all pierceable, so it's okay, but it's decent. It helps this unit's survivability. Let's talk about builds, though. So I've got 2 here, and I just want to point out that the budget build, if you wanted to do absolutely nothing to this unit, that would be nice and budget, and you'd be just fine. I do have distant attack defense form. I think that's probably the best distant counter you can put on him, but understand you don't have to do that. Like, if you just had his scowl skill, I think you'd be absolutely fine. As far as the max invest, I have put Dragon Flame and Lagoo's Friend 4. Keep in mind this unit doesn't have slaying, so it opens up the options a little more. So if you wanted to run Dragon's Roar, you could do that. But Dragon's Flame has a bit more to it, and distant bonus amp that is on all of 1 unit right now. It's something that can help the survivability of this unit and make them even more annoying. But again, the purpose of both of these is the same. They have cornering, they show up on that reinforcement slot, they spread terrain everywhere, and it is very hard to get by them. And now with this refine, they're harder to kill. That is incredibly handy and can help you out a ton on defense. You add in things like giving your team bulwark and fringe bonus and all of this other stuff. And this unit can make the other team suffer, especially with things like Frozen. That is incredibly difficult when you can't outspeed the opponent, which is happening again. Speed is coming back into the meta, and it's not all about bulk anymore. If you're looking for my suggestion on this, I think all you need is the budget build. You can do the super fancy one, and that's fine. That's great. I think if you throw distant counter on this unit in the A slot, you're going to be very happy with how this performs, or just keep him as is. The big point is you can use this unit, and this refine has made him better. So keep that in mind.
Look upon your doom.
I'll be honest, Constance was probably my biggest disappointment. I really wanted her to get a little more damage than she did, and we'll go over what I'm seeing there. But I don't think she puts on enough damage for Aether Raids. In arena duels, she can be an arena assault unit. But understand, she can do that as a secondary nuke, not so much as a primary. And honestly, in legendary hero battles and grand hero battles, I think you can absolutely use this unit, have a lot of fun with her on the PvE side of the game. Now, let's look at Agnia's Arrow. So we have speed +3. Canto at start of phase and after acting, inflicts on closest foes within 2, speed res -7, sabotage, and discord. Those are okay. You would have liked exposure or something that helped you with your damage, but keep in mind some of this is mid-turn, and we take for granted how good these things can be mid-turn. Then at start of combat, if you initiates or is within 2 of an ally, you get attack speed +6, and defense res +5. I don't understand it all. True damage equal to 20% of speed, no follow-up, dull speed res, attack speed penalty negation, special acceleration, and an Omni +11, and flat DR equals to 7. That's a lot there, but the thing I needed, and we'll talk about that true damage, it really needed to be higher. There's no real way to start stacking on that, and we're missing piercing as well. There's a lot of things that this doesn't have. The other thing is I really wanted them to play into Constance's dual nature, maybe every other turn have something crazy. I know that would have made the description as long as a beast, and we don't want that, but I I think they could have had some fun with that and they kind of chickened out, but let's move on. So the budget build for this is leaving attack speed catch, getting Occultist Strike, and having Soaring Guidance on this unit. And honestly, you can do a lot with that. If this is your favorite unit and you just want to PvE around, I think you can do that and have a lot of fun. But we got some new stuff here in the last couple of months that I think you'll really like on her. So you have Magic Light, which remember has piercing, and then you have attack speed Aria, which is a lot of fun, Conjuring Breath, which is honestly one of my favorite new skills, and I wish I could get a copy just to fodder around, but that is highly unlikely. And then we have Silence Ward 4, which sounds interesting. I am not trying to be supportive with this unit. I actually want the Preempt Pulse, because remember how important it is to be able to proc Magic Light, because a lot of the true damage, well, all of the true damage from attack speed Aria comes from that proc. And we have Blade Session 3 and Sly Echo. So you're just trying to cram as much true damage out of this unit as you possibly can. Let's look at the DPS analysis. So you have flat DR of 32, which is actually kind of high. I was kind of surprised by that. Like, that is actually fairly decent. A true damage of 45, and you would have rather that pushed into the 55 range to really be looking at this. And then the big problem is the way this setup works, and I didn't have piercing, so I used Magic Light. We don't have any boosted damage. You do have like a Luna effect where you're taking down the defense and res of the opponent, and that's fine. That's great, but we needed boosted damage as well to really take this unit over the top. You're seeing the effective stats there, and the thing you want to zero in on there is speed of 97. Remember, we got 20% of that as true damage, so you're only hitting 20 as opposed to the 25 that's the target for most units like that. So I just talked poorly about this build, and then I'm going to suggest you build it this way. The way I look at the budget versus the highly invested build is how much more use you're going to get out of them. What's the difference between the two? And if they're close, like with Medeus, I don't think you're going to get more out of that unit by spending more orbs to get stuff on him. This unit, however, I think you will. Even despite looking at the average numbers for damage, I think if you want to use this unit, you're going to have to invest, and I do think this is a significant bump in performance if you're looking for Arena Assault or any sort of PvE things. So if this is your favorite, I think this is what you should be targeting.
Out of my sight!
Good old Gustav is up next, and I like this unit a lot. There are some things I wanted out of this refine, but don't take my disappointment to mean that this is an unusable unit. I actually like this unit quite a bit. The one place where I don't think you can use him is Aether Raids, and I can always be proven wrong on that. Aether Raids is one of those fantastic modes where you can really make just absolute gods out of your units and can take on a lot of different things. But I think in general, you're probably not going to want to use him there. In Arena, though, he does score high enough to be a score bot if you have him merged up. We'll talk about what he has and how that can help you in just a second. And then in Legendary Hero Battles and Grand Hero Battles, I think he can absolutely be used there. He has a good amount of support and a good amount of bulk in terms of those modes. So Arena Assault, Arena, and then your LHB and GHB battles. I think this unit is a lot of fun there. Let's talk about what this refine is, though. So we have Loyalist Axe, we have Slaying, and then after action or on AR defense in the enemy phase, applies Divine Vein Stone to unit space plus within 2. So we've seen that if you think about Hector, that's about the range there. Start of combat, foe initiates or foe is above 75%, inflicts attack defense minus 10% of the defense plus 6. And then you get true damage of 20% of the defense. And if foe can follow up, you get a DR equal to 75% of first attack. Flat DR equals 20% of the defense. Special DR equal to 20% of the defense. Preempt pulse. Special damage reduction doubling. You remember this is the whole twin save effect where the damage reduction from a special can go off twice like Armored Blaze. It is a lot more powerful than it looks like on paper. And then at start of combat, foes within 3 rows and 3 columns, it grants attack defense res +5 against them, flat DR equals 7, and preempt pulse to the ally. That's some really decent support, and the fact that it's not a bonus means it doesn't get cleansed. So this is a really interesting unit and has a lot to him. Let's look at builds, and we'll talk about one other option you might look at. So the budget build, it has to include Shield Fighter. I try not to include 4 inheritable type skills in the budget, but it's the one thing you have to get, and then this unit will work. Shield Fighter is very, very nice. It can be used in a ton of different places. So if you're just like bare bonesing it, that is what you want to do. Max invest though, and this is kind of the going build right now. You got Loyalist Axe, Arch Rival, Diluvial Boost, Assault Fighter, and then Briar Near Save, and then Wily Fighter. Don't forget the difference between Wily and Slick. Wily nulls bonuses, Slick nulls penalties. So just keep that in mind. Depending on where you use him, that could be fun. I do have Distant Counter Echo on there, and if you are using this unit in Arena, believe it or not, it can actually come in very handy, even if this is a near save. Sometimes you just need a unit to be able to take a hit. So I'm also Swapgate. I didn't mention it. It is excellent on armors, but know that any of those gate skills can be a lot of fun. So what are you trying to do with this unit? I mean, this unit has enough to be a support as well as a tank for all but the absolute nukiest of things. And if you're talking about in the context of Arena Assault, Arena, or any of the PvE modes, this works really well. The place where this doesn't work is Aether Raids or something like Summoner Duels. This is not going to work there. If you want to use this in the other places though, I think you're going to be fairly happy with how this goes. There is another option, and that's to put the Sigurd ring on this unit and make this unit just pure support. And what you can do is you can have the Micaiah ring and you can swap people in or even draw back. And then with the Canto, move up and spread the stone around. And for player phase type teams, what this can do is break through ice or any of the other, or icicle. Either one of those, you can break through those and basically cover over them. And that can really open up some space. I didn't suggest it here because I think that's very niche, and I am not sure you're really going to have as much success with that versus someone like Lumera. It's probably better to just use Lumera for that job because the stones cover so much more space. But it is a possibility if you want to do some goofy things with this unit. Now, the suggestion I would make for this unit is definitely the high investment. If you love this unit, I think this is the way you're going to want to go. I know this is expensive. If you want to break this down though, really any of the fighter skills would be fun. I think Diluvial Boost is the best one, but there's a lot of different things you can do there. Arch Rival can also be swapped out for Armored Beacon or Armored Flow or all of those, Armored Blaze really. And yeah, you can go forward with that. And the Distant Counter Echo skill is optional. So understand this is a very loose framework for you to look at. And just to review, remember this unit can be used in Arena or in any of the PvE modes. I think you'll have a lot of fun with him in both places.
You're out of luck.
I have seen so many people go back and forth on Zeke, and the problem is I look at the Refine in a vacuum and I love it. It has so many neat things. And then I look at the Refine as to where I can use the unit and I struggle. So Aether Raids is not the place for this unit. There is an argument to be made that this unit can be used as a support in Arena Assault, but I didn't build him that way and I don't have him set up that way. Understand though that if this is your favorite, that might be the easiest path to use him in because he does have some supportive things that are very nice. I think the best place for him, and listen, I love limited hero battles and grand hero battles. I think those are so much fun. And this is your unit. Like, if you want to make a sham showcase with this guy clearing the latest mythic hero, Heimdallr, and just going in and soloing everything, honestly, I think you can do that. Like, this unit is very fun. He just doesn't have elite things about him. He's very much a jack of all trades. Let's talk about what I'm getting at here. Right off the bat, we have Distant Counter. Then we have Canto and Style Range 2. Already, there's this melding of a lot of different things there. Start a phase if within 2 of an ally to self and to allies within 2. Attack defense +6. Treachery, which is really underrated. And then penalty neutralization in combat, which is also very good. And then at start of combat, it inflicts attack defense -6, flat DR of 20% of this unit's defense, guaranteed follow-up, inflicts attack defense -X, and it's 10% of the defense +6, and then true damage equals to 20% of the unit's defense. So this is a slow, bulky cav, and as much as I love my slow, bulky calves, I am the proud owner of a +10 Seliph legendary version, and I loved that unit for so long. Yeah, they're tough because IS doesn't give them a lot. They don't particularly love that archetype. Let's talk about 2 ways to build this unit though. So the first is the budget, and we keep attack defense catch 4. I upgraded from Bonfire to Ignis because I want as much damage to go off as I possibly can. For the invested skill, I've got Potent Assault, which is interesting, but kind of plays into the dual nature because this can be used in both phases and does have piercing. And then we have Defense Res Menace. Keep in mind, this is budget. This is budget. And then we have Attack Defense Prime 3. So I think by just putting Potent Assault on this unit, you can have a really good time. Let's talk about the upgrade. So we have Arch Rival, which also includes damage reduction, which is very important. You have Blue Skies 4. I know he already has Canto, but this provides more true damage. And then Potent Assault again, and Attack Speed Outcry Dull. He would have rather had Attack Defense Outcry Dull, but it's what we have here. And then we have Attack Defense Prime 3, and then we have Sly Echo for a little more true damage. And I mean, you can clearly see what's going on here. This unit, along with the Erica Ring for, 2 hits, can go in, smack 1 unit, like that 1 critical unit. With that range, they can possibly reach behind the lines and grab the healer, because this unit doesn't have null counter disrupt. And then, all of the other units crash up against this unit because you have him supported at a distance from all of these other things. This is a fun way to play with this unit, and I think if you want to, if this is your favorite, I think this is a great way to go. But I do recognize how bloody expensive this is, because it is something else. There is a lot going on here, and would probably require 3 different inheritance cycles to get everything if you're including Sly Echo. Do understand though, Sly Echo is probably the least valuable thing in this kit. As far as my suggestions, it has to be this build. It just has to be. The other one doesn't do enough, and it doesn't play into what this unit does. There is an argument that you could use this unit for support, but I try to keep true to what the design of the unit is, unless I just can't. So if you need a sham showcase hero battle monster, this is your unit.
New year, same battle.
Kyza is our Grail unit, and I know I started off talking about how we try not to talk about good or bad, but where you can use these units. It is tough to use this unit. Beasts in general, it is so important for them to get a good refine, because you generally don't have arcane skills to fall back on. You just don't. And it makes it very, very difficult. So, this unit isn't really an Aether Raids unit. He doesn't score high enough for Arena, and you can use him in the hero battles, but he's gonna need support. And that's That's a tough place to be. Let's talk about the refine and what we're seeing here. So you get the standard beast transformation, the infantry one. And then at start of phase, foes within 3 rows and 3 columns inflicts Omni -5, neutralizes foes' bonuses, and foe suffers guaranteed follow-up. So that's nice. I mean, there are some good things there. And then at start of combat, if foe initiates or foe's HP is greater than 75%, you get attack defense +6, speed res +5. Why? True damage equals to 20% of defense, and you get special acceleration, guard, flat DR equals 20% of defense, and heal 7 after combat. There's not a lot here. This is very generic, and a lot of these aren't high priority things. There is the nice thing that the true damage gets added on to AoEs, but I don't know that this unit really gets to a point where that matters. I've got 2 different builds here. The budget has Potent Finish, and I think Potent Finish has a lot of things. Understand, I did lean more into speed on this. I talked to the resident beast expert, CJ, and especially for the budget build, it might be better for you to lean more on defense. So keep that in mind. It's tough. Now for the max invest though, this does get interesting. We have Nimble Beast, Attack Speed Fortune, Pair Up 4, which is an amazing dual phase thing, and Kyza really kind of wants to be dual phase, that whole, maybe not hit and sit, but hit and survive and be annoying out there, and that's great for that. And then Dark Beast Force is kind of fantastic. I needed mobility though, and I could get rid of Erica Ring because he has to be able to hit twice because he doesn't really hit with enough damage. Then I've got the Attack Speed Finish Seal and then Tumultuous Echo. The big thing there is I needed mobility for this unit, and I couldn't give up Erica Ring because this unit really needs to hit twice. I am not as happy with that build as I want to be. And if you have suggestions, put them in the comments and I'll try to boost those up to the top. I just struggle with this unit. There is not a lot to work with. And if the weapon was better, then the stuff available to him is quite nice. But we didn't even get improved transformation effects from this weapon. I'm wildly disappointed. And that's why for the build suggestions, I can't suggest. So the problem is what you have here. The max invest does better, but it still doesn't get you up to a point where you're using this unit meaningfully even in the hero battles. That's why I have a hard time suggesting that you spend that much, because beasts are expensive. They don't have good arcane options, so it's harder to duplicate things, and a lot of their skills have weird pre-fodder. It's just not, I can't suggest you max invest this. I think if you go budget, then with Potent Finish, you can still use this unit, you can still be happy with them, but just more in the PvE modes. I don't think this unit goes anywhere close to PvP. Nowhere close.
Don't you come near me!
And then we have Benny. Oh, Benny boy. I have a friend who has said before this that if Benny got a trash refine that they would quit the game, and I haven't heard back from them today. I'm worried. I'm going to have to send someone in to check. But, this is a refine, and it is better than an arcane weapon. But this is not a unit you're going to be using in 8th raids, and this is not an arena duels unit, and you can use this unit in LHB and GHB battles, but yeah, this unit's tough. Let's look at what I'm talking about. This is an incredibly short refine here. We have 4-star specials that get better weapons than this refine is right now. I do think this is going to be better than Arcane Crimson, but just barely for this unit. It's where we're at. So at start of phase, foes within 3 rows and 3 columns inflicts Omni -5, piercing 50%, and guard per attack. At start of combat, if foe initiates or foe's HP is greater than 75%, you get penalty neutralization in combat. Omni +5, true damage of 20% of defense, and flat DR equals 20% of defense. And that's what you have to work with. There's just not a lot. Let's talk about the builds. This is going to mirror what we saw with Gustav. If you just need this unit to work, Shield Fighter's there. And I can see the graphic for some reason didn't show up, but with Shield Fighter, you have to have Marthring in order to get Pavis procced properly. So just understand that. But this is it. So this is fairly cheap. I'm assuming you can get a hold of Attack Defense Near Save 3, but really any Near Save is gonna do it. And then Attack Defense Form 3. For the Max Invest, you've got the Diluvial Boost, which is very nice on the stats. Armored Blaze, Wily Fighter 4, Attack Defense Briar Near Save, and Attack Defense Form 3. And of course the Distant Echo Seal, which is optional there, but can be kind of fun. So the thing is, I'm just going to skip right to it. If you want to use this unit, you're going to have to go all out. But the nice thing about going all out is this unit can survive things. You can do things with this. It's just going to be in the PvE realm. You're not touching PvP at all. So Arena, Aether Raids, Summoner Duels, all of those are pretty much out. Those are not going to be something that you're going up against. But I mean, clears, I think you can beef this unit up enough with enough support that you can definitely have Benny clears Black Knight's map with a lot of help and maybe a lot of treachery. But yeah, I think you could do that. Now, I would watch that video. I'll be honest. So, I mean, there you go. This is a way that you can use this unit. It's why if you want to use Benny, if this is your favorite, I think this is what you've got to go through. You just have to ask yourself if this is worth that kind of investment. So Benny fans, there is hope. This is something you can use. Don't quit the game. Please, don't quit the game. The last thing we want to talk about is what's coming next time for the refines. And we have some interesting stuff. We continue to have Nithful and Mooseville kind of get pushed along. They are coming sometime. But I know a lot of you are very excited about it. The possibility of a happy refine. There's some other interesting things though. This Fjorm is fascinating. I really want to know what they would do with that refine and if they're too scared of her to actually make it good or not. The one other one you want to look at there is Reeve. And remember, Reeve was hugely influential because of Stall and could be again unless they're chicken. If they're too chicken to make him good, then obviously we don't know what's coming. But the other thing to understand is things are a little volatile right now. What I normally say is December is where Fae patterns go to die. And it really is. They just screw everything up in December. So understand that. But I will also say that Albert has a very good track record. So we will see. But with that, if you're curious about the Ninja Banner, I have an entire video on all of those units, including the DPS on them and tier lists and all of that great stuff. Go check that out. Members, you are amazing. Take care and schedule an appointment with your FEHologist real soon.